Hi, and thank you so much for popping by. My name is Dr. Nita Baluzi. Feel free to call me Dr. Baluzi or Dr. Bowie. Today I have cows or cattle on my mind, and that's because I saw two stories. One in the Voice newspaper, actually, both of them are in the Voice newspaper. One was talking about how there's a lot of cattle being stolen between the Botswana and the Zimbabwe border. So, cattle farmers in that region are really complaining about this cattle theft. And of course, from according to the story, the police are doing as much as they can to try and stamp down on that particular theft. And then the other story that ignited this conversation today on cattle and cows is the story of the 161, or is it 162 cattle that were air freighted from here in the United States all the way to Gaborone, Botswana, to actually boost this artificial insemination program that the Botswana government is having for farmers in Botswana. Now, why am I talking about these two? Because as usual, I can see a missed opportunity in the story, right? I can see missed opportunities in the story, and I will tell you why. I read a study that is actually showing that, you know what, this particular program is being underutilized and has been underutilized for almost 11 years now, right? So I see a missed opportunity. And I also know from this research that actually artificial insemination has been happening in Botswana since as early as 1966, right? This is when artificial insemination was actually introduced in Botswana. It was in 1966, and it was specifically for the smallholder cattle farmers. And then in 1994, according to the same research, in 1994, this was when on-farm AI was introduced. And this on-farm AI was provided, or it was a service where AI services were being provided specifically to private farmers at highly subsidized rates. Now, this is where I connect with this conversation, right? I often hear my father talking about the subsidized rates that are afforded to farmers in Botswana. My dad is retired and he's now doing farming on a full-time basis, and these are the conversations I get to hear a lot about because we talk a lot. So this is why I know that even if you are daunted by the issue of the high cost that is involved in transporting these cows, the high cost that is involved in maintaining these cows, there's also the fact that you are highly subsidized as a farmer in Botswana, right? So hear that clearly. I hope you are hearing that clearly. Although these costs may be daunting as it looks, there is also that part that you can rest on, that they are actually highly subsidizing these farming programs. And I know this through my father's experience, right? So why am I talking about this? Because this research is talking about missed opportunities. This study actually was conducted by John Casius Moreki, Pia Podesi Pilaelo Grand, and Obrira Nko. These are all people who are working at the Department of Corporate Service at the Ministry of Agricultural Development and Food Security in Gaborone, Botswana. The actual study was published in July 2019. And the abstracts reads as follows. Artificial insemination, or AI, was introduced in Botswana in 1966 to provide smallholder cattle farmers with access to superior bulls for crossbreeding to improve their herd quality and performance. This review endeavors to highlight farmers' uptake of AI service, challenges, and the opportunities in the use of AI technology in Botswana. The 15 AI centers have been underutilized for 11 years, while the number of inseminated cows have declined over time. Similarly, conception rates declined as these are a function of inseminated cows. So in other words, there's a lot of semen that is going to waste. right? So some major challenges limiting AI utilization are persistent drought. That is something that is hard to control. I can agree with that, right? And then you have outbreak of livestock diseases and parasites. Now, in the case of these outbreaks, as I speak from my father's experience and what I always hear him telling me, is that even when we have the outbreaks of livestock and diseases and parasites, government does so much to make sure they support you through this outbreak. There are instances where you will even be reimbursed some sort of reimbursement for the cattle that you may lose in the process of a disease outbreak, right? Okay. And then we also have climate change. Yes, hard to control, hard to control. Inadequate extension service, high transportation costs. Now, when it comes to the high transportation cost element, I've said this before when I was talking about my experience at a transportation company, that there is definitely room for people to come together, invest in a truck that can definitely work to only what? Transport your goods from, in this case, your cattle or your cows for insemination of the semen, this high quality semen. So you can rent a truck. I know the rental option exists. You can rent a truck or you can buy a truck as a community so that it is always there for you to use, not just by yourself, but your neighbors, the people around you can benefit from this truck, right? To avert the obvious high transportation costs. There's also a shortage of qualified ranch managers, right? What does that mean? It means somebody has the opportunity to become a ranch manager, right? That's an opportunity for me. So, and there's also inadequate transport. As I said, this inadequate transport correlates with the high transport costs, right? So these can both be circumvented by the idea of just sharing that, you can come together, pull yourselves together, talk, negotiate, put your terms right so that you can buy a transport truck to do just the transportation of your cattle. And this truck will likely not lie dormant. It can also be rented out by others in your neighborhood or others in the other villages, right? So think about this, think about this. And then there's also the aspect here of inadequate staff accommodation, right? Somebody could think about the idea of providing cheap farm accommodation in farms or cattle posts, right? What are these other options instead of big grand structures? What can we use? What can we do to make the farm more inhabitable at an affordable cost, right? Because yes, these people who work at farms are human too. They need a place that they can sleep and rest from all of this hard work that they do, right? So this is definitely also an opportunity to think about what can we do to provide the cheaper form of accommodation in these low income areas, right? Okay. And then we also have lack of maintenance of fire breaks, lack of maintenance of fire breaks, and perimeter fences at the AI centers or the artificial insemination centers. Another opportunity for somebody who knows themselves to be an expert or specializes in installing or maintaining these fire breaks and in installing or maintaining these perimeter fences, because they seem to be a problem when it comes to these AI centers, right? And then we also have the trekking of cows over very long distances so that they can reach these AI sentences. These AI centers so that the cows can be inseminated with this good quality semen, right? So there's another opportunity, absolute opportunity. So the underutilization of AI centers presents an opportunity, yes, for farmers to send their cattle for insemination. In order to optimally use the AI service, extension efforts must be directed towards encouraging more farmers to use the AI centers, right? And according to the study, there are 15 AI centers in Botswana. And at these AI centers, actually, let me start first by telling you where the AI centers are. There's a one AI center at Mokaneng. This is in Ngamiland. There's another AI center at Makalamabedi in northwest and part of Buteti. This is likely where my father goes because that's where his farm is. There's another AI center at Makoba, which is most of the Buteti sub-district. This could also be another one where my father goes to because his farm is in that area. And then you have Murupule is another AI center. That is in the central district. You have one at Makoro. Makoro is in the Palape and part of the Tswapong South, right? And then you have another one in Sofupe. Sofupe is in the Bubirwa and the Tswapong North areas. You have another one in Dibete, very centrally located in Mahalape and Katleng areas. It services the Mahalape and Katleng areas. You have another center in Ramwalusi, which is in the Kwening district. And then you have another center in Tsatsu, hey, in the Southern District. Some of these names are new to me. And then you have another one in Good Hope, and that is the one that services the Borolong area. And then there's another center in Sekwasentu. Yeah, Sekwasentu. I think that translates into a black forest. Okay, that is in Wakete West. And then you have another AI center in Kainyani, that is in the Kalahari North. There's another AI center in Puduhudu, that is in Kalahari South and North. And then there's another in Ngojani, that is in Khanti South. And then there's another one in Tsobobukwani in Khanti North. So in total, there are 15 of these AI centers that are waiting with good quality semen so you can improve the quality of the cows in Botswana. And that's not to say we don't have some of the best beef in the world in Botswana, honey. We do. In the same way that we have the best beef in Texas, honey. We do. Okay? We do. So something else that is interesting about the study is that it is telling us the kinds of breeds and the number of bulls that are used for semen insemination at Ramatlabama, specifically at Ramatlabama. This is the table that speaks to the Ramatlabama AI service, AI center. They have the American Brahman, they have the Santa Gertrudis, they have the Charolais, they have the Limousine, they have the Simmental, and they have the Mosi. Now, let me tell you, as I'm saying these names, I will tell you right now, my favorite breed of cow is the Brahman. That cow looks good. The skin looks good. I mean, the outside, the skin, its skin looks good. It's always got this clean, shiny skin. It's a solid kind of breed of cow. The way it stands, the way when you look at it, you're like, yeah. And it's cute. When it's tiny, it's so cute. It's so cute. And it's actually reminded me of a conversation I had with somebody who's based here in America, and they are vegetarian. So I didn't know they were vegetarian, and I was saying, I'm so grateful for everything. I wish I could give her a cow. And when she said she's vegetarian, I was like, but each to their own. Yeah, but of course we do have vegetarian diets in Botswana, but we know that when you're in Botswana and the amount of beef that we consume. There is also, let me see what else can I pick up from the study, which is interesting and might be of use to you as I stimulate you to think about the options that we can take as we try to navigate this 37% youth unemployment in Botswana, right? So, and of course, this study is showing that there's another version of this AI, which is the on-farm AI or on-farm artificial insemination, which was introduced in Botswana in 1994. And this was specifically to provide AI services to private farmers at highly subsidized rates. I will emphasize this again. If there's one thing I know for a fact, as I keep hearing my father telling me all about farming, is that farming is highly subsidized. in Botswana. So the Botswana youth must definitely think about this because it is a missed opportunity. It is a missed opportunity. And I think these subsidized rates are there because they recognize these high transportation costs. They recognize that you need to trek these animals from long distances to there. So they definitely support you in these subsidized rates, right? Opportunities are definitely evident that the AI centers are underutilized, and this is an opportunity for smallholder farmers who cannot afford to purchase a bull to send more cattle for insemination, right? Send the cattle to be inseminated so you can get that good quality, right? Improve the quality of your cattle, of your crowd. And for these AI centers to be optimally used, it is necessary that funds are made available to enable their refurbishment, right? So, as they were saying in the abstract, there is the issue of maintaining the perimeter fences of these AI centers. So, if you are somebody who is in that business, this is a missed opportunity. You need to jump right in there, right? And then, furthermore, opportunities exist for the private sector, right? Farmer associations, university graduates, and academic institutions to participate in the delivery of AI services to farmers, right? So there's that whole multi-sectoral approach to this, right? Not only government, but the private sector, and obviously in this case, the parastatals. This should contribute to what? To employment creation, obviously, especially for who? For young animal science graduates, right? So this is obviously another area that is a missed opportunity. We should be having more young animal science graduates. Why? Because we are in the Botswana environment that is definitely conducive for this kind of sector. An opportunity exists for the local agricultural university to develop short-term practical courses in AI for both technicians and farmers, right? So in conclusion, artificial insemination is the most popular reproductive technology for cattle producers in Botswana, especially smallholder farmers with smaller herd sizes. Some major challenges limiting farmers' use of AI service include persistent drought, absolutely no control over that, outbreak of livestock diseases and parasites, you can manage the risk, climate change, also a very hard one to control, but you can manage some risks, inadequate extension service, I'm not really sure what that means, but I will have to figure that out and let you know. Limited funding and trekking of cows over very long distances to the AI centers for insemination. Although the AI centers are not optimally utilized by farmers, they are not enough to accommodate more cattle for insemination. So it seems like from what I'm reading here, they are not enough to accommodate more cattle for insemination, meaning what? We need more AI centers. That's another missed opportunity, right? The underutilization of AI centers provides an opportunities for farmers to benefit from AI services provided by the Department of Animal Production by sending more cattle for insemination. The ministry could use radio and television programs as well as print media such as daily newspaper, agri-news, and other magazines to disseminate information on AI services to farmers. And I also say right there, they should have also added private sector media should also be used to educate and inform Botswana, right, on these AI services as well. And why? Because these Ministry of Agriculture, these government parastatals are the ones with the budgets for advertising. So they can definitely help to also sustain the livelihoods of journalists in the private sector and not just the government ones, okay? And then to also optimize the use of AI service, extension efforts must be directed towards educating farmers about the benefits of using AI service, as well as encouraging them to utilize the AI technology. There are more recommendations that are given here, and I will share them at the end of the clip. So this is just to me saying, I felt like when I was reading these stories from the Voice newspaper, there are definitely opportunities that I see. Yes, the story about the 162 cattle definitely has some politics involved with it, because it's talking about how these cattle were actually procured at the discretion of the former president of Botswana, President Masisi, and that he spent approximately 33.6 million pula to acquire and air freight them to Botswana. That is neither here or there, because now the cattle are there. The money has already been spent. It is now up to us to make sure that we utilize this uptake, this AI services, to improve the quality of our cattle, of our kraal, and to make sure that we can participate and be included in some of these sectors, right? And I've said before, the transport sector and this farming sector, they typically are seen in more negative light, when in actual fact, there are some positive areas about these sectors that you can take advantage of, especially as a youth. And not to wait until retirement like we typically do to actually get into full-time farming. Okay, alrighty. So I almost forgot to add a very interesting piece of information that I found. So as I was saying, when it comes to the actual rates of artificially inseminating your cow in Botswana with this good quality semen, right? I'm showing you how highly subsidized the rate is when I compare to the United States, right? So in the US, to artificially inseminate a cow is $26 per cow. $26 per cow, US dollar. Whereas in Botswana, thanks to government subsidies, the rate is 20 pula or 35 pula per cow. So that just shows you how highly subsidized and how supported you would be as a farmer in Botswana. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is why I'm saying, yes, I agree, there's a lot of cost associated, but there are also some really good subsidized rates that you can take advantage of. And something else, what else did I know? Russia and Denmark were actually the first countries in the early 1900s to start using artificial insemination. So we thank Russia and Denmark for the introduction of artificial insemination. Thank you so much for popping by. I hope you're having a lovely day where you are. But most importantly, I hope you're having a healthy day wherever you're watching me from. Bye.